it feels like a lot of them have to be this big, huge story, Hollywood type production, and that's what gamers quote unquote expect now is these things like that. But speaking of Hollywood and video games, the God of War TV series showrunner executive producers exit as Amazon eyes new creative direction. I've heard some rumblings of this. I don't know if they mention it, but just overall, I feel like they've been going back through scripts and yeah. So Amazon and Sony will now look to hire a new showrunner and assemble a new writers' room to start fresh on the project. The show was originally ordered to series on Amazon Prime Video in 2022. God of War game co-production between Amazon Studios and Sony Picture Television. Judkins remains under an overall deal with Sony, where he will focus on new development. He remains showrunner on the Wheel of Time series adaptation of Prime Video, going into its third season. So,
remind me, is this series going to cover the Greek era, or is it just going to start with the Norse era?
I feel like they're going to just start with the Norse era. There doesn't seem to be anything here. Let me see if I can find it. I feel like knowing like Hollywood and stuff now, they're just going to jump straight into the Norse era. There's no real like Wikipedia about it or anything, so really all the news is just about the shakeup. There's nothing about the here there's news from a day ago that the Ronald D. Moore boards Amazon series' new showrunner. Showrunner MGM Studios Prime Video series God of War, based on huge popular as Deadline reported, they had completed multiple scripts prior to the changeover, which marks a shift in creative development of series adaptation. Since he returned to Sony in June. Outlander for Stars, For All Mankind, Apple TV Plus. 4 years later, the shows are still going. Both have become franchises, spawning upcoming spin-offs. Blood My Blood, Star City, respectively. More series producer. Corey Balrog, executive producer. There's nothing really about. What there is no news, I suppose, is the.
I feel like if they don't start off with the Greek stuff, then by the time you get to the Norse stuff, it's going to lose some of its impact. Because to me, as somebody that grew up playing the Greek era, seeing like Kratos' change and his character growth during the Norse games, like there was just more impact there.
Yeah, like they write the Norse games with the knowledge that you have probably not heard of the other ones. And which is fine because you pick up a lot of it for the first game, and then Ragnarok kind of dumps a lot on you. That it's like once Ragnarok comes around and they start exposition dumping, it's like, okay, between this game and that game, you should have learned something, right? Like you had to have picked something up. And they have like the recap thing too at the beginning of the game. But the first game very much you're discovering, if you haven't played it, you're discovering the mystery as Kratos is revealing it to other people. So they wrote that pretty well. But there's a whole thing with this one and the next game we'll talk about where they kind of just maybe had 3 games and they shoved 2 games together to make the second game. And so I feel like they just kind of like threw together the game to wrap it up. It's like, hey, he's gonna tell everyone everything, even though like Atreus still does not know anything besides like what he tells them. I feel like.
So you think the Norse stuff was supposed to be a trilogy?
Yeah, I believe that's been like all but like confirmed at this point. Possibly that they kind of PlayStation kind of rushes along their sequels. Like I said, we'll talk about that with Spider-Man here, but they I I think because like you had Greek trilogy, then you had Norse trilogy, right? And I think that would have worked as a good package. And that jumping straight to Ragnarok, like I don't like. I feel like it would have been like I feel like you would have had like built up to Thor being the final boss, and then you kill Thor, right? And then you see Odin, and then Odin's the final boss of the third one, right? And you kind of work towards it. Like you could have had like um Freya, um Heimdall, and Thor, right? And that's like your more or less your bosses for um the game, for the sequel, unless you go with like what 2018 did, and it's like Baldur all the way through. So it'd be like Thor all the way through, Freya all the way through, whatever. But yeah, something like that. Like they kind of would have, if they would have just had more time with a lot of those Norse people, because you really only got to see them in Ragnarok, because Thor and Odin. You heard about them, but you didn't have that connect the dots. I feel like as much, if they could have just given him more, like Zeus got time, right? You got time with Zeus, um, before you fought him. So,
Yeah, I guess that's true. Playing Ragnarok, I didn't really feel like it was rushed or anything. It just seemed like, because I remember I had this debate when Star Wars Rebels came out, and it was announced it was just going to be 3 seasons. People were like, "Oh, it's going to be rushed because Clone Wars was 7 seasons," and it's like, well, not necessarily. I mean, if they feel like they can get the story told in 3, like you don't want to draw it out and just make the pacing super slow. I mean, if that's all it takes to tell the story, that's all it takes to tell the story. And I don't know, like I didn't really feel like Ragnarok, its pacing was rushed or anything.
I don't feel like you feel it in the pacing. I think it's more of the potential. I feel like you feel it in the potential more than anything, where you're like you fight Thor twice, right? And then a lot of the stuff that you kind of expect was going to happen based on stuff that was set up in 2018 just kind of was like a thing that happened, like fighting, like Thor fighting the world serpent, right? And I think maybe because like it's not the pacing, but maybe it's just the plotting, where it's like Atreus's stuff was maybe too, like there's that point where you go to Ironwood with Angrboda, where you're just hanging out with her for a little too long. I remember that's the part that like hits in the game, where you're just like, yeah, okay, we didn't need to go through the whole swamp riding on to the weird animal thing. And people speculated that was the Sweet Baby Ink stuff. Or at least I did, because they said that there was Sweet Baby Ink stuff in there, and I was like, there's not really anything that's too egregious. And I thought that was like, maybe that was the only really thing that was like too weird, but because of Angerboda stuff. But otherwise, it's like, like that was really the only thing that was like, But that is to say that the TV show, I feel like I almost feel like you could fast forward through Greece if you really wanted to, but like, because you could probably tell all of Kratos' story in like a movie length of time, because if you cut out the fetch quest and the like, you need Ares because that's how he becomes God of War, right? You need Zeus because that's his dad and he kills him. You need the box because the hope goes into him, and that's later on important. You need Athena, and all that stuff. So I just wonder what else then if you could rush it and do like 3 episodes and then jump. But so I don't know. I feel like you have to do Greece. You have to do Greece, and I fear they're not going to. I feel like they're going to just jump straight to Norse, and if you're going to do straight to Norse, you got to do Greece in flashbacks. So you got to show us, right? And you could make a lot of it. You could tell a lot of the story in it's like this is the past Kratos is hiding, but we the audience who don't know aren't going to see it. It will just be alluded to, and then you get into the like this is the reason, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. I guess I don't know. Maybe it's just me wanting them to like really fill things out, and plus, I've always been a fan of Greek mythology, so I just want to see that. The Greek stuff in live action I think would be cool. I wonder like who they would get to be Zeus, who they would get to be Ares, what they would look like.
You get Edge to play Ares, like in the Percy Jackson Disney Plus show.
Oh, does Edge play him in the Percy Jackson Disney Plus show?
The wrestler Edge plays
Interesting.
Ares.
I can see that.
They were like he auditioned and like I think Rick even said like he was perfect, like he was the guy, he's perfect Ares. Or you get Liam Neeson to play Zeus, like in Clash of the Titans.
I do think he played a damn good Zeus in that movie.
He probably could do a good one, a decent one again. What really like what you're gonna miss in Greek, the retelling of Greece is there's be no nudity. You're not getting that nudity. You're gonna get male nudity. But you're not gonna get female nudity. No Aphrodite. That'll be gone. Yeah, like they'll tone down the murders probably that Kratos does. Zombie Boy says good. No female nudity. Yeah, I don't like. At least with God of War 2018, there's a better blueprint. So that really brings me into what I wanted to talk about, which is video game adaptations in general. So I had Zombie Boy says only Dong. So Zombie Boy wants Dante's Inferno.
All right. Well, we see which side of the fence the Zombie Boy swings for. Okay.
So the video game adaptations have kind of become the new Hollywood like golden goose. I had discussed this before on a different stream about how comic book movies have kind of gone by the wayside, and that I think Hollywood is kind of seeing that, where it used to be superhero movies and comic book movies were the grift, right? They were the golden goose. At post Endgame, the numbers have kind of gone down, and that's when video game adaptations have rose up. You got like people starting, they wanted the Halo show, right? Regardless of how it turned out, right? They wanted the Halo show. They wanted Borderlands. They wanted Fallout. They wanted Last of Us, Super Mario, Legend of Zelda. Like, they have all these kind of coming. There's a lot more than that. Like, the Rampage movie was a thing. Like there was, let me look up like, there's a Wikipedia list for like upcoming, like Arcane. These are old ones. Trying to see if there's like upcoming. Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Minecraft, Until Dawn's getting a show. The Mortal Kombat movie's getting a sequel. Five Nights at Freddy's getting a sequel. There's a Watch Dogs movie coming out. There's a new Street Fighter movie. The Silent Hill movie. There's Benny and Ink Machine movie, or a show or whatever. Days Gone is getting a movie. Death Stranding is getting a movie, which
this seems like it's too much too fast.
Dead by Daylight's getting a movie. Dead Island is getting a movie. Duke Nukem is getting a movie, which that could work only if it's like a Deadpool style, like ironic, like parody of video game movies.
So who do you credit for getting the modern trend of video game movie adaptations going?
Well, you have Sonic helped a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's Sonic.
So like if we look at these are just even like from a little bit ago, right? So you have the Silent Hill movie from 2006, right? Like, this is the Rotten Tomatoes, I believe, right here. Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes. So like we can go back to Super Mario Bros. Movie, 29% of Rotten Tomatoes. Double Dragon movie, 12%. Street Fighter, 11%. Mortal Kombat, 45%. Mortal Kombat Annihilation 4%. The Lara Croft movies were the best box office wise video game movies for the longest time. Resident Evil 33, right? We go down to then a lot of the ones I sort of remember, like Need for Speed movie, the Agent 47 movies, they tried Hitman so many times. Warcraft bombed, Assassin's Creed bombed, more Resident Evil movies. The Tomb Raider reboot movie did okay, but didn't really leave an impression. Rampage was a Dwayne The Rock Johnson movie. And but yeah, so Detective Pikachu does 53, right? Pokemon is Pokemon, though. I always consider Pokemon separate from a video game sort of thing. It still counts, but it's still at the end of the day one of the most top grossing franchises ever, regardless.
Yeah, Pokemon has just built-in success.
Yeah. But yeah, so Sonic the Hedgehog, during pandemic numbers, right? 2020, February 2020. So like we were locked down, I believe, or shortly before. Yeah, made $300 million, 63% of Rotten Tomatoes. And then the Monster Hunter movie came out. That didn't, I don't think did good, but it's got 45%. But it has nothing to do with Monster Hunter. So, Mortal Kombat movie, and then we kind of got like the Uncharted movie. Sony started doing that, and Sonic 2 came out, Five Nights at Freddy's came out, then Borderlands came out. But I think it was around Sonic they started just green lighting everything. This doesn't even have Last of Us on here. Movies.
I think the reason why is because no one expected the Sonic movie to be as good as it was, and then it came out and it was like, oh, this is actually really, really good. And I think that's kind of what got these studios to thinking, wait a minute, there might be a gold mine here.
Trying to find here's live action television shows. They had really there was really nothing until Halo really for TV, where we're gonna make this the live action video game adaptation. Was Halo, and then they had Resident Evil on Netflix, and then Knuckles, and then you had Last of Us, Twisted Metal, and Fallout, and then there's a Yakuza one, apparently. There's some scripted ones. There's nothing about in development. So there's an Among Us TV show happening, Earthworm Jim, Final Fantasy 9, Golden Axe, Grounded, Kingdom Hearts is still on here. They've been rumoring that forever. That show is never. That show is never. That will never happen. Minecraft TV show, animated TV show. Splinter Cell, Vampire Survivors, Watch Dogs, an animated show instead of just live action. There is that Assassin's Creed live action they've been talking about.
Another one?
This will be a show, which Assassin's Creed as a show is a lot easier of a thing to stomach. Disco Elysium, Final Fantasy, a series, God of War show we were talking about. Life is Strange, which there's actually been some talk of that. The newest Life is Strange having some stuff making people mad. It's pretty funny. Mass Effect, Plague Tale, Skull and Bones, which that is the most I don't know what you even describe that plant. This, it's like having a Concord show, which they're ironically sort of doing. System Shock, Tomb Raider, and Vampire. I believe it's on here, the series about video games. I don't remember what it's called. But there's a new show coming out. Let me see if I can find it. Where each episode is an adaptation of a video game. We talk Cyberpunk Edge Runners is also on here. Castlevania, the anime show, right? That basically video game adaptations are the new thing. I'm trying to find.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. I think I think video game adaptations are basically the new superhero films.
Secret level. That's what it is.
And I think once the Legend of Zelda movie comes out, um, I think that's going to solidify it.
Yeah, so Secret Level is an upcoming American adult animated anthology series for Amazon Prime Video. It has Arnold Schwarzenegger, Kevin Hart, Keanu Reeves, like Laura Bailey, all these people. So basically, the idea is like each episode is a different franchise. So they have Armored Core, Concord, which is funny because that game no longer exists. Crossfire, Dungeons and Dragons, Honor of Kings, Mega Man, Pac-Man, a PlayStation Sony story, right? Sifu, The Outer Worlds of all things, Unreal Tournament, and Warhammer Space Marine. So it'll be an animated show that'll basically be each episode um a, being in a universe or whatever it's going to be, right? So you'll have that too, which on its own will have any game you could really think of, past or present, that could just be the new thing. And that, that's crazy.
Yeah, I think we're kind of in. If I was to describe it, I would say that right now we're kind of in the phase of video game films in the same way that we were with superhero films, like before the MCU, but like during like the original X-Men trilogy of films, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man. Like we're kind of in that phase right now, and then like
Fantastic Four, the Nolan Batman, the
right, and then I think the Nintendo stuff, if they end up going the route of like having all their films lead up to a Smash Brothers movie, that could be like the start of the video game MCU phase.
Yeah. If they wanted to do that, I do. So what I was going to talk about, I don't know if you watched The Last of Us show, or played the game at all.
Oh yeah, I love the first Last of Us game. I don't care about the second one.
But did you watch the show at all?
Yes, I did watch the show.
Okay, so I liked the show because of when it was sticking directly to the game. It was good because it was a way for someone to experience the game without playing it, right? And I've always said that with things, that if you're going to do it, do a 1-to-1, right? For that very reason. Someone needs to be able to experience this in a new way so that it's easier, right? Like I watched Last of Us with my mom, right? Because it was like I've shown her game cutscenes before and stuff like that, and it's hard to get into for someone who has never had to do that, right? And so with that, it was a TV show, it had the drama, it was everything. It was like, and I was able to go like, this is exactly like the game, this is good so far, right? It's all good. And then episode 3 was completely different, but it still kind of worked, but it was more just like, okay, this is weird and different. But okay, I get that. But and if I've seen people then who watch the show go and play the game, and then they're just like, wow, this is wildly different, right? They have always the reverse, effect. So I like that. So that's why it's like, for this game, for the show with the God of War show, I would hope that someone were to kind of have it in their head of like, okay, we are doing it 1-to-1, or like 1 to 1.5, or like 1.5 or whatever, right? Or like half a point, right? Like really close, 1 to 0.9. If we have to change stuff to make the narrative flow better, like there's a part, if it's 2018 God of War, you can cut out Alfheim. Really, it affects nothing besides just getting the light of Alfheim, and then you're done. You don't, and like the whole like being in the light and seeing the mom and building the mystery and all that, right? But otherwise, you can skip really right to when they enter the light, and you're fine. You don't miss anything. And so really there's that. Yeah, so this show, I would want to be 1-to-1. Even if they're adapting Grease, you can cut a lot of Grease out just because of the nature of video games and story. But you still have to keep it as close as possible so that someone can go like, this is exactly like was in the game, right? And if they want to show someone or tell them like, like I told my brother to watch Last of Us, I say, hey, listen, Last of Us show is good. It's exactly like the game, and you haven't played the game, so it's like, exactly like the game. And I've had people say that they like Walking Dead. They're like, you want Last of Us got more Walking Dead. Really, what you kind of liked about Walking Dead that they stopped doing, Last of Us got that, right? So it's, he watched Walking Dead, so I'm like, hey, got that Walking Dead in there. But yeah, so, or you do something like Fallout where it takes place in the universe, but it's separate from all the games, but it has all the stuff that you kind of recognize and can kind of like point at the lore things, or you do what Warcraft did, and it's about something that you know from the lore, but you're actually seeing it. That wouldn't work for something like this, but for other franchises, that's that's cool.
Yeah, so do we know how many episodes per season the God of War series is going to be? Like,
we know nothing about the God of War series really from what I've skimmed. I'm assuming 8 because it's 2024 and that's how all TV shows are done now.
Of course it's 8. Of course
they're 8 and they're an hour long.
Well, if it's going to be 8 episodes, maybe you could do a game a season.
Yeah. Let me look up God of War's, if all the cutscenes for the very first game. Because if it's less than 8 hours, then there's no reason you can't do a 1-to-1 adaptation in an 8 episode, hour long episode show. The God of War 1 all cutscenes is 23 minutes long. So really, plenty of time.
Is it? Wait, is it really?
On this upload of it, this one is an hour with the remaster, which that might include some gameplay. This one is an hour. So really, it's about an hour is the very first God of War.
What the hell?
So if you wanted to go God of War 2, that's an hour and a half length. So you could probably end the show in Midgard if you wanted to. God of War 3, hour and 40, 2 hours, 2 hours and 40. So God of War 3 is your longer one. So you could honestly fit the whole trilogy in a show. If you want to do Chains of Olympus. That's 3 hours.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. There's also, I forgot about that. There's also the spin-off titles.
Yeah, they got a Kingdom Hearts that stuff there. They gotta go to other consoles for the full story. But even then, like it's barely like he talks about it, but like they can skip over his brother. They can skip over Demos or whatever. Yeah, you're not gonna miss anything. It's something that happens that he talks about in Ragnarok, but they only talk about it because it happened, right? It feeds nothing into his overall arc.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that because remember, they were told that the Marked Child is going to be the one that would overthrow Zeus, and they thought it was Deimos to begin with. Mm-hmm. And then it's only later that Zeus realized, oh, it's not Deimos that the prophecy's talking about, it's Kratos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's like isolated to that game, though, basically.
Well, there is a line in God of War 3 where when Zeus is talking about like Gaia choosing somebody to overthrow Olympus, Zeus does say that Gaia chose poorly. Maybe she should have chosen the other one, and Zeus is talking about Deimos.
Yeah, but even so, like, it's one line, right? I'm saying, like, if you adapt it, it won't even be there.
I want every single cutscene in there line by line, damn it.
Yeah. And then when you do the episode where he goes to PlayStation All Stars Battle Royal, right?
Yes, that's
Or when he
canon.
goes to Shovel Knight.
That's right, it's canon.
The Shovel Knight, I believe, is canon from like.
Is it?
I don't think it's like it's like head nod canon where they're basically just like, yeah, whatever, right? Like it's not that it's like it's not true. And he also has to go to Mortal Kombat 9.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was in MK9.
It's considered. Yeah. So, according to God of War director Cory Barlog, Kratos' appearance in Shovel Knight is considered canon to the God of War lore. A tweet made by Outcome Games also confirmed that God of War is considered canon in the Shovel Knight lore. So all of God of War's games happened in the Shovel Knight universe, and the Shovel Knight appearance happened in the God of War universe.
So they put a Tetsuya Nomura, basically.
Well, like, if you want to get technical, if Smash Brothers is canon to the Kingdom Hearts universe, Shovel Knight appears as an assist trophy in Smash Brothers, and so that means Shovel Knight is canon in the Kingdom Hearts, which means because God of War is canon in Shovel Knight, then God of War is canon in Kingdom Hearts.
That is nuts, dude.
So the next time that you're in the Olympus Coliseum, you're gonna hear like Zeus, and then you're gonna turn to like secret boss, and it's gonna be like Kratos walking in with his blades.
Just as soon as you step into Olympus Coliseum, you just hear Kratos shout, "Zeus, I bring the destruction of Olympus."
Like, this how you face me, coward, you know. This'll let me find it. This will be this is Kratos if he ever met Sora.
Stay back, Valentina! This monster's massacred all of our friends! Why? Why are you here, Kratos?
How tragic. It seems the only way to survive now is to sacrifice my body. Oh no.
Be gone, witch!
Oh.
What? What?
That Greek nigga! Give me your
No!
Yeah.
Not my boy Pet. No.
So yeah, because you know the Greeks, they like their the Spartans like their young lads. So
No.
Kratos can't ever meet Sora.
No. Oh God. Oh God. No. Whoa. No.
As I'm saying, like if Kratos ever met Sora in the Olympus Coliseum, that's what you're gonna get.